Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 13 of the anime series Sora, Yori, Tooi Basho, or A Place Further Than the Universe. For all intents and purposes, the season finale, series finale episode. And this was all kinds of sweet and bittersweet and heartwarming and hilarious in places. I'm not going to recap the full events of the episode. I will be touchstoning a few of the things that really stood out to me, that really either made me smile or warmed my heart or brought a tear to my eye, and it went out much as it had carried through from the very beginning. There was a charm, this great level of depth and characterization, and it was just a really heartwarming, sort of laid-back way to go out. Our main foursome of girls, Mari, Sharase, Yuzuki, Miyake, respectively, they are all going to be going home. They were part of the summer team, and the summer team, the four of them respectively are on their way back to Japan, and, it's kind of funny how Mari broaches the idea of, why don't we just stay, forget going home. We won't be able to get back for a year. We'll miss the end of school and graduation and all this kind of stuff. Who cares? Let's just stay a little longer. But of course, no, it's time for them to go and everything. And there is this really bittersweet sort of send-off from all of the team of this Antarctic, mission and everything. And it really was, it was whimsical. It was emotional. Right there along with some of the crowd, tears in their eyes as Sharase is delivering this just brilliant sort of finalized speech to finalize, encapsulate, put the cap on the bottle, their entire adventure that they've had here, with these people who are like family to them and everything, it was really resounding and really satisfying, but as I say, the moments that really stood out to me were little things and some really, completely out of left field surprises that I never would have expected going into this episode. The first bit was Shirase's, being in love with the penguins, surrounded by them, and I'm so happy, but they stink. But I'm so happy, but they stink, And this continues on through the next few minutes while other people are talking. You can hear her in the background. The subtitles are still translating what she's saying for a solid couple of minutes straight. She just keeps going back and forth. I'm so happy. I'm surrounded by these gorgeous little penguins. Penguins are my favorite animal as well. And they are extremely adorable, but they can get a little smelly, So I love that teeter-tottering back and forth. I was laughing out loud at that. And then one of the long-standing sort of speculative things that I've talked about in what I didn't know exactly if we would get something like this, but I had talked about Totogin, who is kind of the surrogate, caregiver, godmother, if you will, of Sharase, in the absence of Sharase's mother. I had wanted a moment where maybe they embraced or something like that. They came to amends, they came to an understanding, leveled the playing field between them. And I had really wanted a resounding personal connectivity moment, a dynamic between them. And we kind of sort of effectively got that, but in a different way than I had anticipated, but a much more resounding way, because it's a sort of a two-part thing. When they are going to leave, Sharase effectively hands Totogin her mother's laptop and says something like, which I thought was really kind of cute and funny, Mom would be mad at me if she didn't get to stay till winter, that kind of thing. She's putting the care of this into Gin, who is kind of like that surrogate mother, as I say, in the absence of Shirase's mother proper. And that little moment, that little exchange between them, Totogin's realization and recognizing what effectively Sharase was saying, embodied and emboldened, by the way, by her having her hair trimmed, kind of like a Mari-style bowl cut, but of course Mari isn't the one who gets to cut it, because forget that. But, I love that really interpersonal moment. It was really, profound to me and really emotive to me, her handing over the laptop. And then, as I say, that's just the first part. The second part, the other leg dropping, is later. There is an unsent message, apparently, from, Shirase's mother that Gin finds when she's looking through the computer as the girls are on their way home. And while they're prepping to film like their last sort of little vlog or whatever, of their trip going back home, returning home, there's a point where Mari looks up to the sky and she screams, and they're so joyous because they had just been lamenting a couple scenes earlier that they never got to see the aurora. And on their way out, as they get into the darkness of night, as that canopy goes over the sky above, so does the aurora, full blast in the skies above them. And they all lay down on the ship deck, much akin to what we see of them holding hands in almost like a, four-leaf clover formation on the deck of the boat, gazing up at the sky. And suddenly, Shirase's phone buzzes with a message, and I'm like, oh, I was hoping they wouldn't leave it. What was the message? And the message is coming from Mom. And I love that because, again, it goes back to what I was talking about, how Totogin is kind of the surrogate mother for the lacking of Shirase's proper mother. And this is kind of solidifying that, because it's a message unsent from her original mother, but it's coming now, finally being sent through from Gin, and it's a picture of the very aurora, and her mother saying, the real thing is so much more beautiful than this photo can even encapsulate and capture. And I love that really interpersonal moment there, that sort of soliloquy on Shirase's part where she's like, I know. She looks back up. She's seeing it right then and there. And it was just so awesome and so beautiful and so meticulous and well crafted, well plotted, well paced, the entire series. And so all of that, it was just spectacular and fantastic. And then they even outdid themselves that much further. I liked the sort of imparting words from Mari, like when they're at the train station or whatever. Let's say goodbye now, because it doesn't really mean goodbye. It means, like, even when we're parted, we're still together. We're still friends, and we will see each other again. We'll go back in wintertime, or at some point in the not-too-distant future, we'll go back to Antarctica. But they threw in one hell of a resounding surprise that really it made me smile. I'm sure I blushed. I'm sure I was misty-eyed. Mari, after having returned home and being welcomed by her family, and she's laying on her bed, and she gets a message on her phone. And it's her friend Megumi, who is, she sends like a picture of the aurora or something. And she's like, after Mari says, oh, I just got home. And she's like, oh, man, that's too bad. Because I'm in the Arctic. And Mari lets out this squeal, and I'm like, huh? My eyebrows made a thorough beeline for my hairline. And that just blew me away. It was like, it was very easy to sort of forget Megumi, all of the stuff, all of the trials and tribulations of their relationship, that interpersonal dynamic, going back and forth, the bobbing and weaving, and how, for all intents and purposes, Megumi kind of sort of betrayed her best friend, out of this sense of jealousy and all those things that I talked about in the episode discussion videos surrounding the episode, where effectively she was kind of breaking up with Mari. And Mari said, I'm not having it. We're still this. We're still best of friends, no matter what, whether you like it or not. I forgive you. And, or else. No. With everything else that was going on in the story, I all but forgot about Megumi, and I just sort of resigned that to something that would never be picked up with again. But her taking the steps to go on that journey, hoping, I think, by her words, to run into Mari, and being upset because they weren't into contact, all along that time. She didn't know that Mari would be back home. But she cared about her that much. She was influenced so much to break out of her shell and go on that quest herself. And so now when eventually she returns home, or eventually Mari goes back, depending on the timing, in between those elements, they will have a much closer bond of friendship. And 4 girls will go to 5, the group. And I just found that really, really utmost satisfying and just delightful. As I say, it brought a smile and a tear to my eyes and to my face. And it was just a pitch perfect way to go out, I thought. And so nothing more, highly can I say to praise this series for its, spectacular writing, spectacular pacing, characterization, performances via the voice actors and everything. To endear me to these characters, to endear me to the quest, even though I myself don't ever really want to go to Antarctica. Just the adventure, the journey, everything that they had to confront, whether interpersonally between themselves or conflicts outwardly, how they came together, how their bonds forged that much tighter and stronger as a result of all of it. And Sharase coming out of her shell very much to give that finale speech and everything. And I really loved it. I love all 4 of these girls. I loved all of the surrounding characters. The guy that comes up nervous as all hell to Yuzuki to get her to sign his, CD, a copy of one of her CDs, and then wishing her well for her drama, and just letting her know a tip of the hat that, yeah, people are your fans and people are going to be looking forward to it and are supportive of you, and all that kind of stuff. It was even kind of funny how Miyake got left behind. As the other girls toward the opening of the episode, they were all resoundingly talking about how they went on these little daily excursions, and she didn't know about it. She was up sweeping up the place, or working in the kitchen. Everything was endearing. Everything was just spectacular. And I'd love to hear from you guys what you thought about the series, all told in the comments below. Love it or hate it, anything goes, of course, as long as we have a great conversation. But, this is one of my favorite series of this particular season. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even been talking about it, really. And again, just to check that word, it was satisfying. The conclusion, it was spectacular. I loved getting all of those great interpersonal moments with these characters. And it was a hell of a way to go out. It was a hell of a series. And so, yeah, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.